Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host Boston. Joining me as always is Musim.
Hello.
Um, let's just get into it. Let's talk RPGs. What have you been playing this past month?
Cool. So it was mostly, if I'm being honest, it's mostly Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
Um, I think I have like 80 or 90 hours logged in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, like I started watching Walking Dead, and it was kind of the perfect thing to play along. And
Oh, sure.
I've unlocked all the characters from the secrets menu.
Nice.
I did cheat on 3 of them because like at a certain point you're just like, okay, I can do all this stuff, but do I really want to go do it? And there was 3 that were kind of dependent on each other, so I just looked up the codes and punched them in.
Oh, sure.
Um,
Yeah, because
the
some of them are always sort of like, I don't even know what you're asking me to do. Like, I've never seen this thing in the game. What are you asking me to do?
yeah,
No.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I looked up how to do them all and then decided whether I was doing them. Like I might have figured out like 2 or 3 of the secrets menu,
Mm-hmm.
like be a good boy and Green Acres or whatever. It's like, okay, that's probably a dog thing, right?
Right.
So and that turned out to be right. But there were a lot of them that's just like, oh, I need to go like south 18 tiles and then west 18 tiles, and then
Right.
I'll run into something. Okay.
My favorite one was like find the cheese in the dairy. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
these levels are like infinitely huge. How am I even going to do this?
That was funny because it's like, oh, that's been immediately above the starting place this whole time. I've just never gone there because it's chicken.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
Um, let's see, the DLC I like a whole lot.
Hmm.
I think a lot of the DLC characters are interesting. Have you played any of the DLC yet?
No, I keep meaning to pick it up, especially because it's only like $2 or $2.99 or something.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm in the middle of playing a bunch of other stuff, and I'm like, if I grab the Vampire Survivors DLC, that's probably all I'm going to be playing for quite a
Yeah.
while. So maybe I should finish some of this other stuff.
Yeah. Like that'll be depending on I mean like if you go in with oh, I can't remember her name, but the final character you get for completing the
Mm,
unlock menu.
right.
If you go in with her, like it's probably not going to last too long. But
Oh, that's true. That's true.
um, they do have like all the characters in the DLC are kind of dependent on, for the most part, unlocking the ones before them.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So it's like a kind of an end game sort of thing almost.
yeah,
Okay.
and the level itself is honestly it's probably one of the better levels in the game because it's not just a forever scrolling level. Like
Right.
it's has different regions to it with, like this area has caves, this area has a frozen lake, this area is a little weird village place.
Right. It's a cool idea because I think part of the I guess appeal, but kind of maybe I don't really have anything negative to say about Vampire Survivors. But if there's anything I could kind of dredge up, it would sort of be that the levels being this kind of infinitely scrolling, repeating thing is kind of maybe not as cool as this maybe more bespoke level that they made with this DLC. Is even
Yeah.
the that really skinny bridge they added in that one patch right before this DLC came out.
Oh yeah.
That one's okay too, but it's kind of the same thing. It's just very thin, so you can't really. You're just going from left to right. You can't go up and down
Yeah.
at all.
I that one in particular, like I really only played it 2 or 3 times.
Hmm.
It was the first time I played it, it was like, okay, I don't know about this. And then the second time I went in with the intent of unlocking the lightning over character, whatever their
Yeah,
name is. And then
it
the
didn't.
third time,
Okay.
I should say the third time I realized, oh, I'm just gonna build a left to right damaging build,
Yep.
and that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat idea of having to make a different build from what you're used to doing, but I'm not sure if it's in a way
Yeah,
that I'm like itching to play that level again.
yeah, no, that's that third time was probably it for me.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be okay playing it if this game had an and maybe it does, and maybe I've just totally missed it. But if it had a random level selection, that would, I'd be okay playing the level then, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got the long bridge. All right, cool, I could play that. But I don't know if it does or not.
That's a good point. I know they have the random character selector.
Right. And then they have
I
the
don't.
character that's just a question mark.
Oh, is that? Oh no, is that not really a random character selector? That's just a
It
character
sort
that's a
of is,
question
like,
mark?
it starts with some, like, a random character's thing, but in Vampire Survivors fashion, it also seems like it kind of isn't in a weird way. So I'm not sure if it truly is or not.
I need to actually try that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I just. Okay.
Yeah. What a weird, fantastic game.
I and if they, even though by the end of the first game and then the DLC, like all the weapons and things you have selections of, like
Hmm.
there's no real challenge present in the game. If they
Right.
came out with another $2 DLC, I would buy it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. 100%.
Um, anyway, so I've mostly played that, and then I played a tiny bit of Persona 3.
Okay.
Um, I was telling myself I would do a like a day in Persona 3 a day, and that is more turned into one day a week. Um,
Right.
the like I never fully played through Persona 3P P3P
Mm.
whatever the heck the PlayStation Portable version is called.
Yeah.
And man, like it looks. So I'm playing on Steam Deck. It looks absolutely great on there.
Yeah.
The graphics upscale, and I forgot this must be the only Persona game in existence where you get about a hour of story at the beginning, and then it's like, hey, now you're free to spend your time how you want.
That's right. Get in Tartarus, make some friends, go do the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It,
very surprising with Persona 4 and 5's. Welcome
yeah.
to 4
Especially
to 8 hours.
yeah, especially compared to 4. 5 is a little bit better, I think. Especially with it starting off with you're kind of in that, you have that boss fight and you're running through that dungeon like at the very
Oh, that's a
beginning.
good point.
But man, 4, I still I still caution people was like 4 is really good. It starts really slowly, like way slower than you're thinking. So you kind of got to stick with it for a while.
Yeah. It's honestly like the intro to Persona 3 makes me think like, well, this would be the crossover that like a Souls fan would come into.
Right, exactly.
They get a really difficult RPG
Yep.
that doesn't keep them on a rail more than an hour or so,
Right.
But I mean, maybe not. Maybe there is no crossover
Yeah.
except for the nymph.
That's right. Right. I like P3P a lot. I'm glad it's getting released on more stuff, especially on for Game Pass on Xbox and PC, because that's such a great place to tell people like, hey, if you don't have to spend $60 on this JRPG that you may or may not like. Like if you played Persona 3 and 4, you're probably gonna like 5. It's kind of more of the same.
Yeah.
But, like if you haven't played this before, you're taking a chance here.
Yeah, I'm real excited for the people who've just been Xbox owners all their life and finally get to mess with this craziness.
Yep.
Uh,
It's nice
I-
to see actual JRPGs come out on an Xbox platform, which is great.
Yes.
Square Enix.
Yes.
Cough, cough, cough.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Man, I really hope they do the Persona 1 and 2 and 2 What If remakes that they did for the PlayStation Portable. I hope they release those on
Yeah,
everything.
I'm kind of curious to see what they're gonna do with like the 1 and 2s, because I think if you look at Atlas, I think they're pretty good about saying like, hey, 3 and 4 and 5 are kind of our babies at this point. Like this is clearly where the Persona series is going. But I think with them releasing Soul Hackers 2, and they're not like, I feel like some JRPG companies are like, oh, don't worry about those. Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, don't worry about those. That didn't happen. They're pretty good about saying like, they're older, they're not really our highest priority, but Persona 1 and 2 are different beasts, but pretty good. And I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do, because I'm going to assume that Persona 6 is pretty far off at this point. So do you fill that gap by having like a Persona Classics collection or something like that? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, that one, gosh, what was it, a year ago when they sent out that survey and they're like, do you want another dancing game and another, like,
Right.
They just listed all the weird, crazy extra stuff they've been doing all the years. So part of me still thinks we're going to get like a Persona game or two a year. It's just not going to be the main entry.
Right. Well, and Strikers did really well too. I think it did better than Atlas was expecting, and they actually have a lot of stuff. I think they could port over. They have the what were they? Demon Survivor. What were the DS ones?
Yeah,
those cool ones. They also have what was that one on the moon? The really, really difficult one that came out on DS that people really loved.
Crap. It's not in the moon, is it? Right, like it's in Antarctica, isn't it?
That one, yeah. I always forget. I always forget it. Always think it's on the moon for some reason. You're looking behind you at your shelf, and I'm like, I know I have it somewhere around me.
I can't see that far.
People are yelling at their podcatcher right now, but like they have that, like they have the two Demons Survivor games that came out on DS. Like they have kind of a cool like DS and PSP, these portable collections. Not to mention like Persona Q 1 and 2 that did really well. So I'd like to see more of those get, even if they don't. Well, I guess Persona Q maybe can't because of the lower screen stuff. But anyways, they have a lot of portable stuff that I feel like they could port over pretty happily.
Well, the this is gonna be one of those podcasts. The Nintendo Switch one that was also for Nintendo Wii U.
Oh yeah, the
Fire Emblem crossover.
Yeah, that one. Yep. I'm just gonna open up a wiki here.
I'm sorry, folks.
No, we're both like a little bit. We're struggling today.
Yeah. I took a nap and it was a mistake.
Right.
So that one was heavily dependent on you solving a lot of the puzzles by seeing the lower screen at the same time, but
that's true.
Honestly, it felt pretty good on Switch.
Okay, so Strange Journey was the DS one.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna look up this the Wii U game.
Like I know it's TMS or something like that, right? Because it's SMT backwards.
Now I can't even find it because I'm just Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
There you go.
There it is. Oh boy. Yeah. All right.
Honestly, they were kind of fighting to get that acronym.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but that's a good point. They managed to make that one work on the Switch pretty happily, and I guess we're kind of waiting to see what Atlas overall is going to do with Etrian Odyssey, because I think it would be understandable if they just kind of left that on the DS and 3DS, and it's like, hey man, that was just for that hardware. We're not making any more of those, and maybe they lean more towards the Tokyo Mirage stuff, but I'm not sure.
I'd really just like to see all of it get re-releases, but like Persona 1 and 2, and then the 2 What If that I'm just not going to remember the name of. Persona Eternal.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Those I never beat. Like, I played a decent chunk of 2. Like, 1 is it's not unplayable, it's just very bland, especially when compared to the rest of the series. So I got pretty far in it, but it's also not as long as the rest of the series, since it's mostly a dungeon crawl. 2 had that really cool rumors system where you could change reality by starting rumors.
I forgot about that.
Unfortunately, the battles took forever and a day.
Yeah.
And the demon conversation system was not great. So it's still... It is easier to go back to than 1. But either way, I would like to beat those games, preferably on a larger screen than my PSP that I've not turned on in years.
Well, and also for me too, like I would really like SMT5 to come to something else. I really like that game, but I just struggle too much with the frame rate on the Switch.
I feel like every new name we game in this every new game we name in this conversation, Boston, I'm like, I need to go back and play
I know,
and
I
finish
know.
that.
As much as we love Atlas games, like sometimes you give me like a 20-25 hour game, I can probably knock that out. But you give me something that's like, yeah, tuck into 150 hours. I'm like, I'll do my best.
Yeah,
I'll try.
I can complete 1 to 2 of those a year, and
Yep.
some days I'm like, I got to do something besides Persona or
That's
SMT.
right. That's right. That's right.
Um, Speaking of, so I haven't played for probably a week and a half due
Hmm.
to Vampire Survivors, and then the game we played for our game club, Pentiment, which
Right.
go check that out. The other game I've been playing is Chained Echoes,
Yes,
um,
me too.
and I need to get back to it. I'm probably 15 to 20 hours in, but I've been wandering around a lot in Chained Echoes.
Hmm.
Um, so like I haven't gotten the remember this is the podcast. Don't remember the name of anything. Whatever the air mechs are called,
Oh,
I have not.
Sky Armor.
Yes,
Yeah,
I've not gotten any Sky Armor yet, but I
that
suspect
takes a
it's.
long time.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, because I just finished Act 2, I think it happens at the very end of Act 1. It's like the transition between Act 1 and Act 2.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think the latest story thing I did was like I know I finally joined the Adventurers Guild, so like I'm still pretty early, but
Hmm.
I found the mad scientist guy
Oh,
um
okay.
with the flowers.
Yep.
Anyway, I probably said too much there. Um,
No, it's kind of a cool. It's a, I really appreciate that quest, not like the side quest, side story, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
because it it's it doesn't really pull any punches. Like it's not mean and it's not really cruel. It's just like here's the thing that is happening, and it doesn't really soften the blow of it, which I think is pretty impressive.
yeah. It's this game is not afraid to go fairly adult and dark, which has
Hmm.
been welcome and surprising. But it still keeps a mostly pretty cheery overtone.
Yeah, I think it balances pretty well. I think
Yeah,
when the party is together and not everybody in the party likes each other, which I think is also pretty great. Like nobody likes Rob in the party. They're all like, "Shut up, Rob." She's like, "God, you're the worst." Um,
yeah,
but everybody all kind of comes together, which I think is pretty impressive.
yeah. It's I really like that game, and I was
Yeah.
thinking about it earlier this week. I'm like, no, I gotta, or no, I guess it wasn't. Yeah, no, it was this earlier this week. I was playing Vampire Survivors. I'm like, I'm through Pentiment. I need to get back to Chained Echoes, but
Right. Have you done the minecart boss fight in this game?
yes, that
Okay.
was. Whew, I I
One of my
lost that
favorite
one the
boss
first
fights in
time.
this game. Yeah.
Yeah,
For anyone who hasn't played it, it's kind of a minor spoiler, but you're on this very large minecart, and you're fighting a boss, and there are four switches on the minecart with you, and you're sort of switching between the boss fight and then this map they give you of charting your path through this mine as you're fighting this boss. So you're kind of flipping switches to change the direction of the cart to kind of give you buffs or debuffs, but manage to stop the cart from going off of the tracks and ending your like and giving you a game over at the same time you're fighting this boss that isn't like super hard, but it's a pretty good challenge.
yeah.
Um, it's it's pretty cool.
I mean, all the combat is constantly engaging. Like
Yep.
I really like that they made that design decision. Less battles, more interesting fights.
Right.
Um, and it's yeah, I am. It is insane to me. One person made this and can make an
Yep.
RPG that is better than most of what comes out from these
And
larger
it's
companies.
it's really long too. Like and not in a bad way because I think what you just said about all the battles being really engaging is 100% true because whether you're on foot or whether you're in the sky armors, like each battle you really have to pay attention to and you really have to be engaged the whole time. Not to a point where each individual battle is like a boss battle, but when you get into a new area, there are some battles that you're going to run into with just like two pigs in a forest or something, and you're gonna fight a couple of turns, and you're like, nope, this is not happening. So like, and there's no downside to running away. There's no downside to losing. It just basically kicks you back to a couple steps before the battle and just says like, "Yep, try again." Like you're healed after every battle, win or lose. So get back in there, try again.
It's like they took most of the pain points out of the RPG, but
Yep.
still somehow have a good challenge in there. Like it's great.
Yeah, they kind of left the puzzle part of the battles, which is kind of what you really want, without you having to do a race against time for your healing items or your healing spells or your MP or whatever. Like, how many times have you gotten through an RPG and you're at the final boss and you're like, cool, nobody has any mana, so I guess I can't take any damage. Great. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I have been pleasantly surprised at the story beats through the entirety of Chapter 2. Just like Chapter 1, Chapter 2 ends, or Act 2, or whatever they want to call it, ends on a heck of a note, in a way that I just... the game, like, keeps unfolding as it goes through and keeps doing a whole bunch of really interesting stuff. And I starting Act 3... I think one of the things that, if you watch anime or you play JRPGs, there's always that translation thing of like, I see that person has acquired the thing. It's just like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? And so far they have avoided that, and there is kind of one big mystery that the main characters are starting to unravel now, and two of the main characters are involved in the mystery, and two of the other main characters kind of know the truth behind it, but they can't share all of the details quite yet. And I was waiting for the JRPG thing of like, I'll tell you tomorrow. Ugh, I died tonight. Like it doesn't do any of that. What's really interesting is they say like, all right, everybody go to bed, wake up tomorrow, we'll be fresh. Everybody can chill out, and then we'll tell you. And they do this great thing where like, I can tell you these many things. I can tell you as many things up to this point, but here's why I can't tell you more. And I was like, that's great. Most RPGs are like, I can only tell you this. Why? Oh, I don't know. The man in the mask told me no, or something like that. But I really respect that they're telling a great story that really respects the player and really respects the player's intelligence. And I think not enough JRPGs do that.
Yeah.
So
100% agree.
Yeah. I think my only criticism of this game continues to be the Sky Armor battling system is a little bit too fiddly for my taste. I really like the on-foot stuff where you're trying to stay in that sweet spot of the green part of the bar, that like we've been talking about for the last couple months. Also, if anyone is interested in playing this game, number one, it's on Game Pass, which I keep forgetting about because I'm playing this on PS5. But if you want, you can change the difficulty of the battles quite a bit. So like you can do a ton more damage. Enemies can do a ton less damage. You can make the green part of that overdrive bar way bigger, or you make it really small if you want to make it super tough. But I think I like the idea of this almost like Xenogears system of having to manage all these bits of your Sky Armor while you're fighting, and kind of like the upshifting and downshifting system. But I think it's a little bit too much for me personally. It doesn't ruin the game, certainly, but I always miss the overdrive system when I'm fighting with the Sky Armor, which is probably a good thing because that means you made a really good system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing what the Sky Armor is. But it does, like, it's a weird line a lot of these RPGs have to do where they keep adding on systems like with every chapter, and
right.
some of them just go a little bit too much. So
Yeah, I love Chained Echoes. I wholeheartedly recommend. If you're listening to this show, you should probably play Chained Echoes. It's one of the most refreshing RPGs I've played in. I don't know how long. I
yeah,
just it's a game like we've been talking about. It's a game that loves 16-bit RPGs, but also doesn't want to put up with playing a 16-bit JRPG. Like it
yeah,
wants to, like you said, remove all the pain points. It wants to make playing it easier, and it does a really great job of making it challenging while still kind of managing to make it fun. So
yeah.
it's
And
pretty
like it's
impressive.
like the gameplay is such that I can't remember which one it was, but there was some enemy I fought and I thought, well, I can't beat that now. And then I was in another battle and I was messing around with my abilities and found some kind of, debuff buff combo that kind of
Yeah.
got me through something like, oh crap, I can go take out that other guy. This
Right.
would totally work against him.
Well, and it's
Um,
it's an RPG too, where because of the overdrive system, where you're kind of trying to keep it in that sweet spot and using your yellow highlighted abilities, I'm using a ton of buffs and debuffs, which usually you don't, because you're like, well, I'm gonna just do the attack spells and get my
yeah,
way through here. But it's so cool. It's such a good game, and I I haven't played it lately because I've been playing another RPG a lot more, so I can talk about it on the show. Um, but I need to get back to it because it's really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what else have you been playing then?
I have been playing. I guess I played a bunch of this already, but maybe this isn't the highlight of this month's episode. But I've been playing the Theatrhythm Final Bar Line demo. They came out with it, I think, just this past week. It's only been out for a couple of days. And if anyone has been keeping track of this, the demo has 30 songs in it. It is just a small sampling of the total number of songs in the final game. Let me see if I remember what games are in the demo. It's Final Fantasy 2, 5, 7, 13, 14, and 15. So it's a pretty good smattering of stuff from all across the different generations here. I haven't played a Theatrhythm game since the first one on DS. So I haven't played ones where you don't have a touchscreen. And I have to say that the tutorial for this game was really good, because it thankfully assumes you've never played any of these games before. So I'm used to like drawing the up and down arrow on the screen, and it teaches all that stuff really nicely. And thankfully, you can hit literally any button on the controller to do any of these, any of the hits for any of the notes in the game. Unless you have to do an arrow direction, then you need to use one of the sticks. So it's really friendly. There's a bunch of accessibility options there too. They even have a mode in there where the game just plays, and like does all the notes for you, so you can watch all the cute characters do all the actions and fight all the bosses and everything. But I'm super excited. This plays really well. It sounds really good. There's of course, because it's me, I unlocked Final Fantasy V as the first one, and it's like, all right, here's 6 characters, and they still have the system where you're kind of equipping spells in your characters, and you're leveling them up, and you are making a party of each individual character has kind of I guess a type that they are, where like this one attacks, this one does magic, this one does healing, this one does defending, things like that. And then you go and you play the individual songs, and you're unlocking more songs. In the demo, each game only has like 3 or 4 tracks per song, and then it essentially gives you a key to unlock another game. The final game has, I think, 327 songs in it,
Oof.
and that's essentially between Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 15. That includes like 10-2, all the 13s, stuff like that. But they also have Mystic Quest, Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Legend of Mana. They have a Near Automata. They have Live a Live. They have like pretty much if it is a game that Square still acknowledges and it's not Dragon Quest, it's probably going to be in this game. So I'm really enjoying it. I've got the stupidly overpriced Mega Ultra Edition pre-ordered, so I can get the 3 DLC season passes or whatever. Because they're like, you want to play some Wind theme from Chrono Trigger, and I'm like, yeah, man, I really do. You got me. And they're like, you want to play Scar's Time from Chrono Cross? I'm like, oh yes, I sure do. Curses. So I think the thing that I'm most surprised about is that it kind of just works. Like moving it onto a console and not having the touchscreen, the whole thing just functions perfectly, and all the save data from the demo carries over to the full game too. So whatever you unlock in this one, you start off with at the very beginning, and you're unlocking like art cards and characters and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't even know what that stuff does yet, but
that's cool.
Yeah, so that's Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. The demo is out on PS4, PS5, and Switch. I think that's all it's coming out on, but we'll talk about that in the releases because that's coming out this month. We already talked about Chained Echoes. Remnant from the Ashes is a game that we used to call ourselves Dadstiny because we were playing Destiny 2 every Thursday. But we've been pretty burned out on Destiny 2 this season, so we're taking a bit of a break from doing that. So we are playing Remnant from the Ashes because all of us owns it on Epic because they gave it to us free however long ago. I think over the last 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks, we were struggling against a boss that's a pair of like royal bugs or something. You're on this very thin wooden bridge, and you're fighting this bug that's like Ixion the 15th. And we're like, all right, this seems fair. Oh, he's calling out some like orbs that slowly come near us. That's pretty cool. And then you do enough damage, and then behind you, it's like Ixion the 16th spawns. And it's like, oh, right, Dark Souls. Right, so we got to fight these two bosses on a bridge. All right, cool. And man, those things worked us for, I think, we only get a chance to play maybe like 2 hours a week or so. And we just like kept crashing ourselves upon the rocks for the last two or 3 weeks, I think. And this week we were finally able to get it down. I think it's one of those things where we're trying not to look up the mechanics or anything. So it's a lot of like, oh, what does this boss do? Oh, it did a big attack where it killed us. Okay, let's get back in there and figure out how to stop that thing and figure out how to stop it. And then we can do it for both of them. All right. So it's that kind of fun. The thing that I like about Dark Souls, which is making that incremental progress with every death. So we kind of getting, now both of the bosses are down to half health. All right, great. Oh, we got one of them down. The other one, it got into a fury, and now it's doing crazy attacks all the time. I still really like this game. I know, Musum, you talked very highly about it for a while when you were playing it, and I'm not playing it solo, so I'm only playing it every Thursday with Bill and the Hannah, and we're just having a blast. I think number one largely because it's not Destiny, but I think also because it's a cool game to play, and it's a cool thing to play with two other people and just kind of shooting a bunch of guns and playing a cool gun Dark Souls thing.
Yeah, I played a bunch with my nephew, and like he is super into builds, man.
Oh yeah.
So I learned a lot about like kind of the stats and the different secrets and stuff. But it
Nice.
was, I had a lot of fun. I will play the sequel whenever that comes out.
Yeah, we haven't even finished this game yet. All of us are like, yeah, we're playing the sequel when it comes out. This is super cool. So I think after this, we're probably looking forward to Redfall, that Microsoft showed off recently, as another cool like multiplayer 3-person kind of Left 4 Dead cross Far Cry thing. Um,
Oh yeah, that thing looked awesome. I know
yeah,
what you're
that's
talking about now.
Arcane's new game, the Prey and Dishonored team. So that'll probably be our next one. Depending, I guess, on how we feel about the new Destiny expansion here. But yeah, Remnant from the Ashes, super great. It also seems like it's on super sale all the time. I don't know how it plays solo. I'm kind of waiting for us to finish the game together before I have it installed on my PS5 because I think it's on PS Plus as well. If not, then I got it on super discount at some point. But I'm kind of waiting for us to finish it before I dive into it solo because I want to see that side by side of we played through the whole game 3-player and how does it deal with playing solo. So
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to try the survival mode type thing they do, which I guess you'll probably do after you beat it. I
mhm.
think I may have told you about it. It's that mode where you start off and you don't have any weapons. I think they let you choose one weapon or something at the beginning, and it's a
Right,
procedurally generated set of
right,
levels.
like almost a roguelike sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
very roguelike light, maybe. Um,
Yeah, I think we were gonna try it after we finish because that seems like something,
yeah,
especially because by the time we're playing this, we're all sort of a little bit fried from our week. So the idea of
mhm,
like just getting in there and kind of shooting a bunch of stuff and fighting some cool bosses with the builds we already have seems
yeah,
very appealing.
yeah. Well, and I think that's how you. I want to say that's where you get materials to level up your in-game weapons,
Oh,
is
okay.
that area. But that might be wrong. It's been a year, maybe longer since I played it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's also neat to see them do the same kind of Dark Souls thing of you killed a boss and here's it's a piece of it and you're using
yeah,
that to make a cool sniper rifle that shoots black holes. It's like, yeah, great. I love
I
it.
mean, it's also like you don't get the same bosses with each run through the game.
Right.
Um, and like there are several bosses where depending on the way you kill them, you'll get a different weapon or armor.
Yeah, cuz
Um,
like I was looking up when we beat that double boss. They're like, oh, if you kill 15 first, you get this one, and if you kill 16 first, you get this thing. And both of them create something different. I was like, yeah, man, that's pretty cool. I like that. And
yeah,
that's so Remnant from the Ashes. I know I'm like this game is like 3 or 4 years old at this point, so you've probably heard enough about it, but it's still cool. It plays great. It's fun. The story is fine. Like we're kind of not diving super deep into it. Like, um, the one guy is like, yeah, go get the heart of the beast, and I'm like, yeah, man, sure, why not? Someone else is like, can I have that heart? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? You can have it too. He comes back and he's like, there's a new age of humanity, and I was like, that sounds great. Yay, yay, go us. So like, I don't think it's bad or anything, but I'm not really most of the time when I play games, I like diving kind of into the story and asking everybody all the like just the comment tree options. But in this one, I was like, sounds great. Yep, I'll go shoot thing and get a heart. All right. And so, yeah, Remnant's good. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's been pretty fun. All right. Last game I've been playing and the one I have been really focusing on is Forspoken.
Ooh,
This came out 2 weeks ago, maybe. Um, and I think you and I have been pretty interested in this game ever since they showed it off. Um, and I think probably, unfortunately, its legacy will likely be one of the worst marketing campaigns that we've seen in quite a while, a marketing campaign that kind of can't figure out what it's going to be and the tone it wants to strike with this game. So I picked it up, I think the day it came out. I hadn't had a chance to really play it because we've had like one emergency after another, the home ownership variety. So it's been a lot of that sort of thing. So I finally got to play it, I think, earlier this week, and so I like Forspoken a lot, but I'm going to be a little bit hard on it here at the beginning because it starts off pretty rough. It starts off in modern day New York City, and Frey is this kind of down on her luck ne'er-do-well who has gotten caught one too many times, and she's on the wrong end of the three strikes rule in a courtroom. And I think the storytelling is good. I think the voice acting is really good. Some of the animations are not great at the beginning, but I don't think they really harm the game at all. But the thing that this game does not excel at is you walking through tight spaces. And the first probably hour of this game is all of that. And it makes for a really rough beginning, because very quickly you get teleported from New York to Athia, which is this other realm you're on. You have the bracelet on your wrist, which you call Cuff. He has a very posh British accent because it's Square Enix. And thankfully, once you get out of that first area, the game does a really smart thing of it gives you the parkour running thing immediately, and then lets you loose on a huge area of this map. And it's just like, here you go nuts. And God, that stuff feels so good. Like, immediately just cooking with Frey as soon as you get that like parkour running thing. And all you have to do is hold down circle, and she just books and doesn't really take any stamina, and doesn't. You do have some stamina pips. If you look in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, there's a very small yellow health bar. There's some stamina pips right above it. And stamina refills pretty quickly, and your parkour running serves not only as kind of getting around the environment, but also serves to be your kind of climbing equivalent, because you don't just hold circle. It's not like Assassin's Creed where you're just like, I'm going to hold these buttons and I'm just going to climb up a building. You actually have to like time and pattern out your moves up a cliff to make sure that you can kind of keep propelling yourself, and that stuff feels really good. But the parkour stuff also is your evasion, and timing that stuff not only gives you kind of a buff and gives you some of your stamina back, but also allows you to counterattack at the same time. So it immediately feels really, really good. You fight a very, very large boss before you get unleashed into the world, and that feels really good because it's not a very challenging boss, but it gives you enough wiggle room to kind of fail, but also enough to do some really cool kind of flipping and spinning and twisting stuff in the air while you're evading its attacks and attacking at the same time while you're doing parkour and attacking. So you're doing some stuff immediately that looks and feels really cool. And the fighting feels really solid pretty immediately. I might have to remap the controls because essentially your defensive skill or spell is on L2, which feels okay because you're usually holding it to place it in a specific spot to like bind enemies to a spot, or maybe do like a damage over time. Or I have this little like flower that sprouts that shoots kind of bullets at enemies. But the R2 is kind of your offensive spell, and you have to pull the trigger every time you want to fire it, which doesn't feel 100% great. It feels okay when you're kind of holding it to charge up a larger spell, but kind of pulling it over and over and over again feels a little bit rough. One recommendation I have is if you're playing this, please, under the accessibility options, please turn on auto pickup. There are items everywhere in this open world. It reminds me a lot of Dragon Age Inquisition, where it's just like, I scanned and here's like 6 things, and then behind me there's 7, and over here there's 8 things in a chest. Auto pickup just scoops up all of that stuff. You still have to open chests, but normally you'd have to go to a chest, hit triangle to open it, and then hit triangle to pick up the thing that's in there. You just hit triangle to open it. You're walking over stuff. You're scooping them up automatically. It feels way, way better than it did before. I really so we talked a little bit about the marketing. I think I'm probably 3 or 4 hours into this, I think, and a lot of that has been, oh, you dumped me into the open world stuff. I'm going to check out everything. Like, I'm going to check out this cool little mini dungeon they give you, which will give you kind of a powered up spell. I'm going to check out all these treasure chests. I'm going to take some photos with my smartphone at a bunch of these little spots here. I'm going to check out these small little challenge areas they have all over the place that will give you maybe like some skill points or things like that. I've been enjoying a lot of that stuff. We talked about the marketing before, and the marketing will probably be infamous for this game of like, yeah, that's a thing I do now, you know, that kind of that infamous trailer. But in context, that stuff feels way better, truthfully. Almost all of that stuff comes from probably the first half hour of the game, and Frey gets teleported to Athia out of the blue and kind of can't take Cuff, that bracelet, off of her arm, and it can speak to her telepathically. And Cuff doesn't really know everything about Athia either, for some reason that I'm not entirely sure of yet. So a lot of it is the two of them being strangers in a strange place and trying to figure out all the weirdness of Athia together. So like most of the voiceover from that trailer comes from the first time you kill this, like, your first enemy, this horrible like wolf that has teeth all along its body, like these giant fangs all down its body. So like the first time you use magic, that's what she's saying. It's just like, heck yeah, man, like I wasn't super great back in New York, but like now I'm slinging magic and saving people and killing these horrible demons. Like this is actually pretty cool. Like, Cuff, you didn't tell me I could do this stuff. And I kind of like her angry reluctance to become a hero, because everybody's like, oh, you saved us, you saved the town. She's like, shut up. I'm not a hero. Don't you dare call me a hero. There's a lot more swearing in it. I'm not going to say any of that stuff on the show. But I kind of like this reluctance to be a hero, and this kind of reluctance to be seen as a hero. She's just like, I got to get back to New York, man. Like, I got my cat back there. I want to go see my cat again. I think in context it makes a lot more sense. And I think it feels a lot more natural. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I like Frey a lot. I like Cuff a lot. It's got a cool style. It's got a bunch of really neat looking stuff. The open world, you know, when we saw the first trailers and stuff of this game, and you saw her just booking it through the open world, it feels just like that. And I don't even have, I know I've seen some like kind of leashing, teleporting, grappling hook stuff you get later. I don't have any of that stuff yet, um, and I think that's only going to serve to make things even cooler. But it feels really cool, and it feels a lot of fun to play. If you're watching the video version of this, person that's playing this just went through the kind of first optional dungeon, and it gets you. So you have three pieces of gear. One is your cloak that you can kind of upgrade. One is a necklace that you can equip. The very first one you get just gives you health back when you kill enemies, and I'm like, well, yes,
Ooh.
I want to use that for sure. And then in a really interesting move, the other piece of gear is your fingernails. You can actually paint sigils on your fingernails, and that gives you essentially modifiers on your spells. So if you want your spells to be better at one thing, or like maybe they'll be a bit better at healing, or maybe they'll be a bit stronger, or critical hits strengthen you for X number of seconds, or stuff like that, you can equip that stuff on your fingernails, which is there's an in-game reason for doing it. I won't spoil it, but it does a pretty good job of selling it. And it feels good to play in kind of the way that is tough for a show like this to kind of explain. Like I'm having a lot of fun fighting random stuff in the world. I got so you go through this first big open area, you hit another kind of lengthy story beat, and then you have the game essentially says, all right, go out and kill this person. And the game dumps you back out in the open world, and then unlocks a huge area, and then it's essentially like, all right, this person you got to fight, here's where you started, and they're all the way over here, and essentially like goes 7 or 8 zones away, and I was like, there they are. Except that's the entrance to their castle. They're actually here, 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 and there. And like, here's just the entrance to this giant, huge area. And I was just, and they're like, yeah, just do whatever you want. Go crazy. You have no time limit. Just do whatever you want in this giant open world. And it's like, yeah, man, all right.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun to play. And I think it's nice to play something that's pretty different. So far, the story, except for kind of one major beat, the story is fairly lighthearted and kind of fun. You know, Athia is in a pretty bad spot. It's being infected by something that she calls the Break, which is kind of this infection that turns people into like zombies and infects them with kind of they have like rocks growing out of them. But beyond that, it's kind of, I appreciate that it's an open world game that's just kind of turning you loose. I like that a lot. So so far it's leaving a really positive first impression. I think as much as I was looking forward to it, I think I'm more impressed than I was expecting. And from the little bit I've seen from people I follow on Twitter that have finished it for reviews and whatnot, it seems like it only gets better from here. Like it just gets stronger and stronger the entire time. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to dive into it. One last note. I haven't been playing this a lot because it's very explicit, and my kid is learning how to read, and I don't want to teach her a bunch of 4-letter words. But one thing that I think is really neat is Cuff. I'm playing this on PS5. Cuff speaks not only through your TV, but through the speaker on the DualSense controller. So you get this kind of otherworldly voice acting where it sounds like it's dual layered, like maybe you are kind of hearing it in phrase head. And I think that's a really cool effect that that I don't think we see that often. But yeah, Forspoken so far, really good. I don't have a ton to talk about it super deep because I'm not that deep into it yet, but you know, once the game kind of takes the training wheels off really early on, it's really cool. It's just really fun to play. So 2 thumbs up so far. I like it.
Well, cool. That
Yeah.
is after. I feel like I just read every single negative review there was to that game, so
Mm-hmm.
it's good to hear. Like, when the critical response to something reaches a certain level of negativity, my reaction starts becoming, "Are you sure?" Like, you
Right.
guys seem like you're just wanting a dog pile. So I was,
Yeah, and they're that's part of the reason why I wanted to pick it up is because I I had that same reaction of like I've been really looking forward to this and like is this really going to be is it really that bad cuz like I've played some real
yeah,
bad games in my time and this doesn't really look exceptionally terrible. It if anything it's probably fun but flawed, which is a game I truly like how much I talk about Alpha Protocol still. I'm okay with like kind of a cool, fun but flawed B game, but I it feels like one of those games or movies or TV shows or whatever that people just kind of wanted to hate, and that trailer that came out, I think, only fueled the fire in a way that I think people have already forgotten about largely. But I'm happy to say that this game really isn't. People were like, "Oh, the TikTokification of games." It's not that. Like, don't be over dramatic about it. Also, people do really talk like this, so it's not the 1950s or anything. This isn't one of those like forsooth and verily sort of games. But I don't know. It just
oh,
I
like
think
it's using semi-modern slang or something in it.
yeah, and like a lot of people are, and even like every once in a while, the main character will say something where people are like, "I'm not sure what that means," but like everybody speaks English in the game. Nobody's translating or anything. Most of the time, she says something. The characters are like, "Yeah, I know what that means." It's not anything super obscure, but yeah, I'm liking it a lot. It's cool. It's fun to play, and I don't. I'm really excited to keep digging more into it because the more I kind of keep peeling back the new systems it's giving me, the more I'm having fun with it. And I don't even have all the systems or anything, so I'm
Cool.
pretty pumped to check out more. That's all I've been playing this month, though. So let's do releases and a news story here, real quick. Releases for February 2023. Souls of Kronos comes out PS5, Switch, and PC on February 14th. This is kind of an interesting looking dungeon crawly anime beat 'em up thing. When I was researching this for the show, it seems like people were kind of excited to play this game, maybe a little bit more than I was really expecting. So Souls of Kronos looks kind of neat. I'm surprised it's not coming on PS4 as well. It's strange to see a kind of Japanese focused kind of RPG beat 'em up not come out on the largest available platform at the moment. So not
Yeah.
sure what's going on there. Like we talked about before, Theatrhythm Final Bar Line comes out on PS4 and Switch on the 16th. I'm playing that on a PS5 and it's just fine. There's no real issues. So I don't remember if this is coming out on PC later or not. I feel like it kind of isn't. But I know Square Enix is a little bit hesitant to put some of that stuff out on PC for whatever reason. I'm sure they're worried about modding or whatever, but people can probably just do that with the Switch version, so who knows. Tales of Symphonia Remastered comes out on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on the 17th. I never played Tales of Symphonia, and I was pretty excited about this remaster coming out, and it unfortunately is only 30 frames a second when the PC version from a couple years ago was 60. So I'm not entirely sure why. That seems like a very strange choice, especially for an older game like this. I'm hoping they patch it out at some point. But if I remember correctly, back in the day, Durante had to fix it on PC with his own mod, so maybe I shouldn't hold my breath for this one. But I've always heard good things about Tales of Symphonia. I like the Tales games a lot. I've just never gotten around to this one, so hopefully they fix that one up. Like a Dragon Ishin comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles, and PC on the 21st. This is the kind of samurai Like a Dragon game. Now that the Yakuza games are kind of morphing into Like a Dragon things now. So this is I believe this is the remake one, or maybe a light remastered one from the PS3 game. That the one that we were fairly sure was never going to come out here because it seemed like an impossible localization challenge.
Yeah.
So this one looks cool. Everything I've heard is that this is super cool. I wish I had played Yakuza Like a Dragon. I still need to play that. I have that for PS5 and I haven't checked that out yet. Too many RPGs at the moment, which I guess is a good problem, but still haven't checked that out yet. A game I genuinely forgot was coming out this month, Octopath Traveler 2, coming out for PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC on the 24th. They have been releasing some small trailers and stuff about characters here and there. This still looks pretty cool. It looks, like a direct sequel to the first one. It still has that, HD 2D HD, whatever they call that engine. They have that happening again. Really happy they're putting it on other platforms day one, other than just the Switch. But that looks cool. I'm curious to see. I dipped out of the first one real early on. I didn't click with that game at all, so I'm curious to see what the big changes here are for the second one.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 Lightfall comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles, and PC on the 28th. I'm shocked this is coming out so soon as well. As like the dude who plays Destiny every week, I feel like it really snuck up on me here. But this DLC is way more under wraps than the last one, so we know kind of not a ton about it quite yet, though they have said they're going to release some new details over the next couple of weeks, probably after the next big story beat happens in like the next week or two. I assume that we're gonna see some new stuff here, but they released a new trailer during I think it was the Game Awards last year, and a new trailer here pretty recently, so there's a lot of cool stuff there. So, but again, it's not the total revitalization of Destiny 2. That will probably come out after the next expansion, so if you didn't like Destiny 2, I don't think this is the one that's gonna bring you back. And lastly, here we have Dungeons of Aether, comes out on PC on the 28th. I recommend watching a trailer for this. This is a cool, like, dice-based one-on-one battling roguelike dungeon crawler kind of thing. The animations look incredible on this. And it looks like I know there was another Aether game before this that I think was a different dungeon crawling game. And I'm not entirely sure. I know they're in kind of the same universe, but this one looks pretty significantly different. But Dungeon Aether looks pretty cool. Let's talk about our one news story for this month. Fuga Melodies of Steel 2 is launching in May. This is it's coming out on everything this time, day one. So PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC, Epic Game Store, kind of everything on the same day. They have finally announced kind of all the new systems that are happening. Let me try and put a trailer up on here for the video version while we're talking about it. But there are about half of the characters this time. So instead of there being like 12 or 13 characters in the first one, there's only 6 this time, 5 kids from the original game and 1 brand new one. His name is Vanilla, which is a really great name. So some of the new systems, you're in a brand new tank this time. The something happens with the tank from the very first game, and you have to kind of evacuate. The system, I guess, unfortunately, the system from the first game where you can sacrifice your kids in the giant tank comes out of the giant cannon that comes out of the tank is still there, which I guess is not great. But there's kind of a middle system there called the Managarm system, where you don't sacrifice your kid anymore. You just use them to do one large attack, but then they get knocked out until the next intermission happens. So kind of the between levels section. So I feel like that's a little bit of a better system, and then you don't permanently lose the character. Thankfully, they still have that kind of rock, paper, scissors, red, yellow, blue system they had in the first one. They have the judgment system, where you're kind of picking the path the story is going to go through as you're going through, and it seems like a fairly binary thing, like a red choice or a blue choice. And it seems like the leader skills you're going to get are based on which choices you're going to make through the story, which seems kind of interesting. I think that seems like a kind of a cool idea. And I think that's it. Oh, there's also some new ways to get around the actual map when you're kind of doing the almost FTL style movement across the map. So I'm really excited about this. Unless they really screw this up, you can probably see this on my top 10 here in 10 months. I can kind of almost guarantee that based on how much I love the first one. And if you didn't play the first one, they have a demo out for the first Fuga game. You can play the first 3 chapters, which is quite a bit of that game, and your progress carries over to the full game. So if you wanted to try Fuga, that's a really great way of doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that tells me I need to purchase and play through the first one before May.
Yeah, they keep putting it on pretty heavy discount too. And most of the time now, when they put it on sale, it's like 50 or 60% off. Do
you think this is a full screen game, or do you think it'd do well on a handheld? I mean, I guess you played it on Switch, but
I played it on PS4, but I think if you play it on Switch or something like a Steam Deck, I think you'll still have a really good time. I don't think it's a thing where you have to play. Plus, some of those battles can get a little bit lengthy, so it probably a good idea to maybe watch something in the background while you're going through like some of those lengthier boss battles. But
that is what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, it's a super cool game, and I really, if you're looking for something that kind of isn't afraid to pull the punches, and great thing, I played through that game I think like 3 or 4 times to get the platinum on PlayStation. When you finish the game and you start a new game plus, it skips a whole ton of the front of that game, I think like the first 2 or 3 chapters, and then you have all of your bonuses sort of rolling on, almost like Chrono Trigger style, where after you finish it the second time, you're still that powered up, starting the game back over. So it's kind of fun, steamrolling the most of the game and getting revenge on bosses with your totally powered up tank. So it's cool. The game's great. I really love it. But that's all our news stories, which means that's our episode for this month. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at pickingupthepixels.com. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page. Don't forget to join the Discord server. I think we can do that at discord.tvgp.tv. And visit the YouTube channel. I think that's also at youtube.tvgp.tv if I set up an alias for that one. But a reminder that we don't live stream this show, but we do put out a video version every month. And for all the games we're talking about kind of in the first segment, we've got gameplay running right next to us, so you can kind of see the game in action while we're talking about it. And follow us on Twitter if it's still around at pickinguppixels.com. and Musim, where can we find you online?
I made a link tree. So
nice.
go to linktr.ee/John Musim. That's Musim, and that'll have links to every music project I'm involved in and most of my social media.
Nice. You can find me over at e1m1.com. I also have a link tree sort of thing, and I don't remember what it is. But that's
Yes, I just frantically looked mine up. I'm like, oh crap, this is part of why I did this.
right. And I don't remember where any of that stuff is. But you can find me over at e1m1.com for all that stuff. And I think that's it. So we'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.